Welcome to my no power file.
Girl, don't do it. It's not worth it. I'm not gonna do it, girl. I was just thinking about it. I'm not gonna do it. I did it.
So, I tried so freaking hard for this video to find pomegranate seeds or just pomegranates that I could de-seed, and they literally exist nowhere right now. Clearly not in season. I can't find them. So we got the pom juice. It's growing on me. The first few sips were awful. So I figured for part of this video, I wanted to reminisce on my TWIHARD days. Yeah, they were called TWIHARDs. Why? So, okay, so I just wanted to quickly share a few of the videos that are Twilight related that I loved growing up and honestly are still pretty gold. I'll link them in the description. And then a commercial break really quickly to share a video that I made, I don't know when, so I reposted this in 2013. Things that I clearly remember, like the few things that really stand out to me. So I remember watching the first movie specifically so many times. I would watch it like on average 3 times a day for the span of a week or two. So I would play the movie and then as soon as it ended, I would put it back in and play it again. Yep, did that. Excuse me. So at school or summer camp, if I was walking behind somebody, I would make stupid comments like,
ugh, I hate walking at human speed.
I really did that. I cried. Yes, literally I cried. Okay, I cried tears, like sobbed tears out of my eyes. I think it was during Eclipse when I realized that I was not in fact a vampire and I was going to die one day. So I had that existential crisis. Burger King had this like a new moon collaboration thingamajig that they did. So basically on all of the cups that they had, they would print the faces of the stars on them. And I didn't really eat at Burger King, but boy, oh boy, did I eat at Burger King for those. I literally changed my eating habits for a bit just to collect those cups. And they might still exist in my mom's basement somewhere, who frickin' knows. I totally forgot about this one, but I had a cardboard cutout of Taylor Lautner. Oh, no, it wasn't. Totally don't know what I'm talking about. It was not a cardboard cutout. It was a poster, but it was like a full-size poster. And so it was Taylor on one side and then Robert Pattinson on the other side. I clearly had it on the Taylor Lautner side. It was scary. Like, you'd walk in, it would look like somebody was there. I had a date at like 12 or 13. To go see one of the Twilight movies. And then I think it was the last one I went to go see. I saw it twice. And the second time I saw it by myself. So I literally went to a theater alone to go watch the last Twilight movie. And I'm pretty sure that one too, I like went and bought it on DVD the day it came out. That might have been the last few. I remember making, oh, was it a Vine or a Gift Boom? I feel like it was a Gift Boom. Does anybody remember that? Cause whoo! Ooh, I saw Eclipse, I think it was Eclipse in Colorado. Reminiscing has been interesting to say the least, but I figured that I would text my parents as well and see what they remember of my Twilight obsession phase. So this is what my parents said, basically saying that I read the books and watched the movies all the freaking time. Didn't really know if I was Team Edward or Team Jacob because one was clearly hotter than the other one. And then getting everybody else into it and just the nature of, yeah, I don't know, bye. What the heck is that? Oh my gosh. Okay, hi. Please ignore my hair. I have bedhead so bad I just threw it up in a bun. So I went to Walmart yesterday to do some grocery shopping and decided to check the book section while I was there. Lo and behold, look what I had. I had a huge Twilight phase when I was like 12, 13. I read like the beginning of this book like 10 years ago or whatever when it got leaked online. And so I kind of felt that I owed it to my 13-year-old self to read through this. If you've read Twilight, you kind of know the plot of this entire book. But anyway, I thought it'd be fun to check in and kind of give my thoughts, feelings, opinions. So first, on the cover, like this definitely fits with the original books where it's black, like you can see on the back here, the original ones. I am very curious why pomegranate. Well, if you just looked it up, you would know that pomegranates are symbols of immortality, like a freaking vampire. So yeah, that's why there's pomegranate on the front and it says pomegranate seeds literally a million times throughout this book. Actually like 5, but you know what I mean, whatever. One of the things I've been thinking is I haven't read Twilight in years. I feel like the dialogue between Edward and Bella and everything should be exactly the same as the first book, and it definitely could be, but it feels like it's not. But again, I haven't read it in so many years that I don't actually know. Like, Edward is such an interesting character compared to Bella because he has such an internal struggle over being a vampire and being involved with someone who's not a vampire and like putting her in danger and whatever. I am enjoying this book so much more than I was expecting to enjoy it. I thought it would just be like reading a really bad soap opera for my entertainment, but I'm actually loving it. If Stephenie Meyer ever rewrote the entire series from his perspective, I would read them all. New Moon was always my favorite because Bella's just depressed and trying to freaking deal with it the whole book. Okay, so I'm editing this and just realizing how freaking weird that sounds. So I like that book because I have depression, and so like I could relate. And because I like struggle with depression, I guess, I tend to be drawn more towards broken characters because they're just more relatable. So that's what I meant by that, not that like I'm trying to glamorize or glorify being depressed or like I think it's funny or anything like that. Yeah, just felt like I needed to clarify. But like reading that from Edward's perspective, because he's gone like all of New Moon except like a little bit at the beginning and a little bit at the end. Like he's not really in it at all. So it'd be so interesting to read his perspective of that entire time and see like where he was and what he was doing. Hey, so as you can see, I'm outside. It's later. I've showered. I've changed. I'm outside right now doing, oh my gosh, some tie-dyeing. I've read a few more chapters into Midnight Sun. I have some thoughts. I know this is a qualm that many people have with Twilight in general, but it's so creepy. Oh my gosh, like he literally is such a stalker. They're both so obsessive. It's so unhealthy. I was reading that at like 12 and 13 and being like, this is what love is, this is what I want, this is goals, whatever. I mean, they're 17, but like that's, as a 17-year-old, like I was stupid, obsessive, puppy love, unhealthy, toxic kind of relationships. Why are we glamorizing it? Why? Not to mention they have like almost 100-year age gap, but like he's literally like 100 years old and she's a child, and it's so weird. So there's that. I'm glad that I was on vacation this week because as a kid reading through those books, I remember like reading them over the summer and just laying on the couch and having nothing to do but read all day long. It's so refreshing, I guess, to kind of have that kind of nostalgia, feeling like kind of like I'm a kid again. So before last night when I picked up this book, I was in the middle of rereading Sorcerer's Stone, which if you know me, like Harry Potter is my end-all be-all fandom thing. Love it, obsessed. I have a Harry Potter room. I have way too much merch than I should ever need. That one's easier to pick up and put down because I have read it so many times, whereas this one is harder for me to put down because it's my first time reading through it. And I feel like with things like that, like I just want to, I'm like so into the story or whatever and just want to be done. Me again. Sorry for the background noise of the air conditioner, but I'm dying of heat, so I'm not going to turn it off. Came in from tie-dye. I'm reading again. I'm on page 202, 203. So you know that scene from the movie where like they go into the woods and she's like,
I know what you are. How long you been 17?
Like all of that shenanigans. I don't remember from the first book, but like that scene is so iconic in the movies of her like just randomly following him into the woods, which like, are you crazy? What you doing there, buddy? And here it happens when they're in the car together driving back from Port Angeles. Was that how that was in the first book? Maybe I should just reread the series after this. Conflicted, a little conflicted about that. Yes, that's what I am. Oh my gosh, is this not the perfect angle for a thumb face though? Okay, so it's the next morning now, which means I'm on day 3 of having midnight sun. I'm just cooking a little breakfast as I'm talking to you. One of my thoughts is that you get a lot more of like Edward's backstory. Because I know like in the original series you get the story of like how and why he was transformed into a vampire. But there are a few stories where he's like a year into being a vampire and like what's going on, which is pretty interesting. And they like very briefly talked about Carlisle's backstory, and I want more of it. Like, it sounds so interesting. I talked about this yesterday, but like I just can't get over the fact that she's 17. She's a literal child, moving so quickly, so intense from the beginning. From the start, it's like, ooh, forever, la la la. And like, I know as a 17-year-old, like that's how I was, but it's just like so frustrating. I don't know, because again, it kind of paints like an unhealthy whatever, but just not over the fact that she's literally 17. So I'm more than halfway through the book and I feel like nothing major has happened, but I've been loving it. Edward's perspective and his character is just so interesting that even just like reading about nothing is entertaining from his mindset. I don't know, I just like the writing, I'm enjoying much more than I anticipated I would. So first of all, please ignore my hair. As you can see, I braided it and I slept in it so that my hair will be all wavy today. Clearly haven't taken it out yet, not ready to. So we're just gonna ignore that this looks like a pile of garbage, okay? I have finished Midnight Sun and wanted to give my last thoughts on this. So I bought this book on Tuesday night and finished it in the wee hours of Friday morning, like 3 a.m. wee hours of Friday morning. I read this a little bit slower this time around than I would have gone through one of these books as a kid, which was really nice to just kind of take it slow and relax and read. Bella's character is way more interesting in this book as well. I know I've talked about Edward being an interesting character, which he is, and like you definitely see more of the vampire stuff, which is cool. But I feel like in Bella's version, like her whole character is like her biggest trait, I guess, is her obsession with Edward. Yeah, so in this one it's cool because Edward sees her in ways that she doesn't see herself or doesn't like me. So she seems like a more complex character in this book than she did in the original series, which I appreciate. Before I say this next thing, I'm going to apologize for putting these two series into the same sentence for a second. Please forgive me, okay? But I want to talk about Twilight in relation to Harry Potter. Okay, I know those books don't belong in the same sentence. All right, just hear me out. Of the two, like I definitely was obsessed with Twilight first, but if you know me, you know I freaking love Harry Potter. I literally have a Harry Potter themed guest room. I have a Harry Potter Instagram account. I go to Harry Potter conventions. Like, Harry Potter is end all be all. I love Harry Potter, and like, okay, not gonna get into it. But the thing that I like about Harry Potter that also I enjoy about this is that it's like a magical, fantastical world that lives and exists right alongside like the muggle, human, whatever realm of things. So I feel like that in both cases makes it more real, and that's like one of the things that I like about this, because like this series is just so focused on romance that it's not as complex. Like in terms of plot, characters, story, I prefer Harry Potter all day, every day. But I do love Stephenie Meyer's writing style. Nothing really happens in this book until the end, but I was still so like drawn into this story because of the way that she writes. The other thing is like there's so many points in time, well I guess not in this book, but there's a few like throughout the series where Edward and Bella obviously are not together. And so it was interesting at the end of this, like with that whole tracker shenanigans, to see what Edward was doing when they were separated and like how that all went.
Yeah, so I didn't really give a conclusion, but basically I really enjoyed this book. I do recommend it. Geez, my nose itches. Again, I haven't read the original series in so long, so like my memory's a little foggy there, but I feel like this book is better. And of the other people I've talked to that have read it, that kind of seems like the general consensus, that Like, the writing is just so much better. The perspective is so much better. Generally, things are better. But again, take it with a grain of salt because their relationship is still really creepy and obsessive. And yikes, dog.
Bye.